No matter at what point you started your horological journey and got onto the road for automatic watches, or let's get a little more specific, the road for sports and sturdy watches, it's simply not possible that you never heard of the brand Seiko. And if you did, it's also likely you heard the name Seiko 5. The 5 attributes of automatic movement, including water resistance enough to allow sporting activities, a recessed and protected crown at 4 o'clock, a day and date window, and a durable case with a bracelet or a strap. Don't these 5 design traits define what you would expect in your sports watch by a manufacturer? Well, we have Seiko 5. The first impression you would get upon looking at Seiko 5 is that this is diver's watch, from how it looks and the vibe it gives. So let's get the facts straight. This isn't a diver's watch by any means, yet comes with 100 meters of water resistance. And while we're not talking about SKX series in this video, it's fair to touch base on the series and explain the stance Seiko have taken with the new Seiko 5. SKX has been an iconic entry-level diving watch by Seiko for long, and with iconic diving looks to daily beating traits to also the diving function, you simply cannot come across a watch enthusiast that wouldn't know of Seiko SKX 007. With brand's new lineup for watches and limiting the professional watches to prospects line, it was unfortunately time for SKX to be phased out, as it lost the feet or the ground to stand on. I will spill the beans here. How about Seiko come up with Prospect's SKX 007 model? The release of new Seiko 5 accordingly strikes a right balance between SKX looks and vibe, and the typical Seiko 5 traits and characters. While it does look like diver's watch, it technically isn't. The new Seiko 5 has no screwed on crown, rather it's only pushed in, and accordingly it's a step back from SKX, which had 200 meters of water resistance, as opposed to this Seiko 5 which is only 100 meters of water resistant. I will personally only consider this rating for surface swim and will not recommend it even for shallow water diving. The watch also doesn't come with lumed pip, meaning you can't time it at the depth of water. There is also no screw down case back to align with the lower water resistant rating of the new Seiko 5. Starting with the dial, this particular reference is technically black face with the black bezel. But here's the most interesting part. The dial remains dark and blacker shade of color until it is hit by direct light, and then it starts to give off stunning shades of bronze or brown color. For this reason likely, this dial color is also called vintage black, but I don't agree with that. If anything, this is rather a dramatic and futuristic black and has not so much vintage vibe to it. The dial itself is sunburst, and while the black dials are not the best ones to experience the sunburst effect or show the way the light plays with the dial, this particular dial does reflect the light, and that again due to the colored reflections it gives. The sunburst lines are not the most clearest I've seen, but they are very good ones for the price. The not so clear sunburst lines result from relatively rough surface finish, but I think this adds a character to the watch on its own. The bezel is black and matte in finish, so there are no reflections whatsoever. The bezel numerals are not lumed, and it also lacks lumed pip, which essentially translates this watch into a non-diver sports watch. The bezel is however unidirectional, and the click and action is consistent overall. The hour markers is another interesting character. When you look at the dial, you naturally assume that these are applied hour markers from their design, the depth, and the looks they give. Seiko have intelligently made them with the process where you get the applied hour indices vibe, but they don't put in the same effort or cost to produce them. The hour markers are stamped in from the back of the dial to make them protrude outwards towards the face of the dial or the crystal. And while with this process you do get the 3-dimensional feeling and depth in the indices, I can tell you easily it's a trade-off on the quality. The quality on the hour indices is definitely not on par with applied hour markers, and it simply can't be. While I have to say that the overall feel and quality from naked eye does not look bad at all, I'm disappointed with how the silvered border isn't even. See closely and how the silvered boundary of hour markers does not look consistent in its width through its periphery. For instance, look at the hour marker for 4 o'clock and see the thickness of silver border just below the luminous infill towards 6 o'clock, and then compare it with the thickness just above it towards 12 o'clock. Now you can further look at the hour markers for 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock or even 8 o'clock, and you see similar uneven thickness of silver boundary of the hour indices. Under the macro, the watch comes with fairly basic finish as you would expect from its price. The dial hands show very rough surfaces and come in brushed finish. The surface roughness, although easily demonstrates the most basic finish, the brush lines do add character and experience. The brushed lines, however, are neither straight up nor they are parallel to each other. But again, this is expected given the basic price of this watch. The dial is actually the best part of this watch, and even under close macro, it shows consistent finish and the feel. Although the quality is again basic, and that's fair enough for the price of the watch. The hour indices are soft and show neither sharp corners nor any superior polish or surface finish. Thanks to the circular hour markers and the diverse watch vibe you get, and then the luminous material, the lume of the watch is bright and beautiful. No lume pip means you can't use the bezel to time the watch in the dark. The seconds hand also has lumed circle, so you can use this watch to even time seconds in the dark. However, I don't understand the logic of Seiko to put the lume circle at the bottom end of the seconds hand and not where the seconds hand actually points. That is, when you see the position of lume circle of the seconds hand being around 6 o'clock now, the seconds hand itself is actually pointing towards 12, which is not only strange but confusing too. The watch comes with exhibition case back to showcase the beating heart of caliber 4R36 operating at 21,600 beats per hour to offer 40 hours of power reserve. The self-winding automatic movement features 24 jewels and offers hacking seconds hand, hour, minute, central seconds hand and day-date function at 3 o'clock. The movement accuracy tolerance is large and is between plus 45 seconds to minus 35 seconds a day, which is less than impressive. The exhibition case back means that you do get to enjoy the movement operation, yet aesthetically it's a very basic movement, although still aligned with its price. On my 6.5 inches wrist with the circumference of 55mm, the watch wears very comfortably. The watch case is 42.5mm, but thanks to its shorter lug-to-lug height of a little under 46mm, the watch wears smaller, and this helps in keeping the overall heft of the watch very manageable and wearable. The case thickness is also 13.5mm, which isn't bad for the case size, and it marries great with the overall watch proportions. For reference, Rolex Sub at 40mm case comes with lug-to-lug of 49mm. So while it is 2mm smaller in the case size than this Seiko 5, it wears 3mm larger on the wrist. That being said, 2mm larger case size would mean that the face of Seiko 5 looks larger than the Sub when on the wrist. This particular reference comes with mesh bracelet, and I do really love the mesh bracelets in general and the way they contour to the wrist. Overall, the mesh bracelet on this Seiko 5 sits very low and close to the wrist, and it does work very well with the overall watch. If you wanted to see how this watch looks and wears on the rubber strap, here's the shot for you with the watch on wrist. And while I do appreciate the comfort and casualness with the rubber strap, I still prefer mesh bracelet purely for aesthetics. This rubber strap in particular is crafter blue and comes with contoured profile to help with the aesthetics and contouring when you wear it on the wrist. And the quality and finish here does appear to be very good and offers a relatively higher end experience. With all the new and refreshed looks, when we talk of Seiko 5 today, you may think that this is a new and a replacement watch for SKX, which is not a diver's watch. But don't be deluded by the new design, when this watch in question originally dates back to over 50 years, with the first series of Seiko 5 coming out in 1963. The modern Seiko 5, with all the 27 different variants, offers you all the options where you may not ever need to mod it to make it your perfect watch. If you were looking to make an entry into mechanical sports watches, you simply can't go wrong with it. Seiko 5, although is a very basic automatic watch, yet it does have adequate bells and whistles to enable you to understand and appreciate why when we say and sing the melodies of true mechanical watches, we really mean it.